Welcome to Tales from the Bridge. This is another episode of Trivia from the Bridge, and this week we have Sean Gunn, and it was an absolute delight to hang out with Sean Gunn. He was so fun, and he's pretty good at the quiz that we do on this show. I gotta say, he was pretty good. You know Sean from Guardians of the Galaxy, also in the Avengers movies, The Suicide Squad, Thor, Love and Thunder, so many more. Of course, Kirk Gleason from Gilmore Girls. Many people know him from that show. We just loved hanging out with Sean. He's an absolute talent, and we just had a lot of fun hanging out with Sean. We hope you enjoy the Trivia from the Bridge episodes. If you really do, go back and check out our other episodes with Dominic Monaghan, Shauna McGuire, Cory Doctorow. The next Trivia from the Bridge episode is going to be with Robert Duncan McNeil from Star Trek Voyager, who also directs and produces episodes of Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk. Mostly we like to talk about books on the show, but we talk to actors, filmmakers, authors all the time. Go back and check out other interviews and other episodes we have going on. We appreciate you joining us today with Sean Gunn. And you know what? Sean's waiting for us. Let's make our way over to the bridge.
Joining us this episode is actor Sean Gunn, a mainstay of the hit TV series Gilmore Girls, and most recently the MCU Guardians of the Galaxy films, where he plays a surprisingly heroic Ravager named Kraglin, and the motion capture performer for Rocket Raccoon. Thanks for joining us today, Sean.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Really appreciate it. So if you want to know what it's like to play a machine gun wielding raccoon in one of Hollywood's biggest franchises, stay tuned. We also have a friend and competitor today is Al Grantham, who is a singer-songwriter from Toronto who creates wonderful music. He's released 4 solo albums and 2 EPs under his band Low Hanging Lights. He is a self-proclaimed movie addict, and today we will see how he does with a quiz with a strong science fiction theme. Al, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. No pressure whatsoever.
This should be fun. I have no idea what I'm in store for in terms of what kind of questions are coming my way, but. So we'll see how true that is.
Well, we're super happy to have you guys. Let's get to question number 1.
This 1985 film showed a touching tale of alien and human becoming good friends. Now, it's not Mac and Me, which was released in 1988.
Enemy Mine?
Oh my, okay, well, there we go. Alex, you're in trouble.
I forfeit.
Because we send the questions back and forth, and generally we try to stump each other as we create them. And oh my god! Well, okay, nice work. All right, well, Sean, I like it hot out of the gate.
That's great.
That's good. Perfect. All right, nice.
I saw that movie in the theater.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was it called again? Sorry.
Enemy Mine. That's a Peterson too, right? I think it's a Wolfgang Peterson.
Yeah,
film,
I think it is. It's,
yeah. Dennis Quaid,
and the alien is Danny Glover the alien?
I actually am not.
No,
sure.
it would be Gossett Jr.
Oh, right, Louis Gossett Jr. Right.
Nice. Yeah.
Wow.
Well done, Sean. Okay, so Sean snatched the first point. Good start. All right, so we'll go on to question 2. Who wrote the original screenplay for the film Alien 3?
David Fincher?
Nope. Al, you want to try to steal?
A clue. Science fiction
clue.
author.
Yeah, he's a science fiction author.
Mm.
The author of Neuromancer, William Gibson.
That's a good question.
All right.
Very good book. Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Tristan, you want to take this next one?
This could be a bit tricky then, this next one, because we're going to stick with William Gibson. What William Gibson novel was just adapted for the small screen and had a very successful first season this past fall?
It's
Can you see the answer out of the corner of your eye, maybe?
It's a little off to the side?
Or out of your peripheral? All right.
It's that show. Wait, isn't that show with like there's a show I have in my head that I don't.
I'm there with you too.
Ryan did just say it. The title of the show and the book itself was Peripheral.
Oh, okay.
It was a really good first season, actually. Yeah, it was really good.
I didn't watch it all. I didn't watch it all either, guys.
Chloe Grace Moretz is the one who comes up.
Yes,
first.
Chloe Grace Moretz. Yeah, that's the show I was thinking. That's the show I was thinking of, but I could not remember the name of the show.
I can't remember her name either, and it's so funny because I've loved her in so many things recently. Like she's been on a real tear.
Well, I almost said the actress from Hugo, which is like she's done a little girl when she did that movie.
Yeah, she's done quite a few other
since then. But that is who I was thinking of. Anyway.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Kick-Ass was my original reference for her originally, but yeah. Nice.
Hugo, underrated movie.
Oh yeah,
Hugo was really good.
She was in the Suspiria remake too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll jump into question 4 here. What iconic composer wrote the themes for all 9 Star Wars films?
John Williams.
Nice. Now, okay.
Very good.
John Williams, yes. Point Sean. I have some bonus questions. Do you know how many Academy Award nominations John Williams has? We're going to do closest without going over here. I couldn't believe it.
Closest without going over?
Yes. Price is Right style.
I will say 12.
I was going to say 14.
Okay. Would you believe that man has been nominated 53 times?
Oh!
Apparently, he's only he holds the second place of all time next to Walt Disney that has 59. So anyway.
That's insane.
It's absolutely wild.
What are the other categories that he
I think it's pretty much always just original score.
I think it's all original score. I think it's basically all original score, but it's just the amount of movies he's done and the fact that they've all made it into categories. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. 25 Grammys that he's actually won as well. It's wild.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of my earliest CDs I ever owned was the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade soundtrack.
Awesome.
I played a lot.
No, do you think he's ever accidentally made the exact same
Oh, it's got to happen.
Dude, you did this exact. It sounds.
That's right.
Note for note.
Steven Spielberg's like, John, you've done this one before. We did this one 30 years ago.
On one of my films. Exactly.
All right. Last question of the first round here. This one's a really neat one. It's possible that Alex is a bit familiar with this because he grew up in the small town this question is based on. So, Alex, we'll give a little bit of a head start to Sean here.
So this actor was the lead star in a 1998 film called Shadow Builder, which was filmed 15 minutes from where I am right now in Paris, Ontario. And it was shot the summer of 95 in Paris, Ontario. Shadow Builder.
I think I might know this.
Okay. Who was he? Who was it?
Was it Michael Rooker?
It was Michael Rooker.
Yes.
I've never heard of him. Who's that?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I love that you pulled this one out, Tristan. That's so good.
That film is a deep cut.
Sea of Love? Is that him?
Well, and Tristan, you said you remembered them shooting this, right?
Well, yeah, I would have been
too,
probably about 12 years old watching them film that, and it was really neat. I met Michael last year at Fan Expo in Toronto, and I asked him where he was, or it's some silly fan asking him where he was in the summer of '95, and he looked at me funny, and then when I said Shadow Builder, and he got so excited and wanted to talk about it. He loved filming that movie. And I got to say, Michael is so genuinely nice, and what an amazing, fun guy. Sean, can you tell us a little bit about working with him? Because it must be a riot.
Yeah, don't let that secret get out that he's actually a nice person in real life. That's his dirty little secret. I actually, he just texted me 2 days ago, and I haven't seen him in a while, and I'm going to see a lot more of him this year. Because we're going to I'll see him doing a bunch of cons, and of course there's other places where I know I'm going to see him this year. But he's really the best. He is he's my brother. I don't know he's like. I met him. My brother James had always been a huge fan of his, and really just wanted to work with him. And before they ever met. Jimmy would write for him sometimes. He'd write roles with Rooker in mind before he ever worked with him. Before he ever, I think, sold a screenplay, he would write things with Rooker in mind. And so then when he did Slither, he was like so happy to get Rooker to say yes to it and go and do it, and they went and shot it, and Rooker was he's just such a soldier as an actor. Like he will do whatever it takes to get what you need, and he's a total professional. Like he's a wild man when you see him outside of if you meet him at a convention or you meet him or you run into him at a bar or whatever. Like he's a huge personality, very boisterous, almost seems all over the place in many ways. But on set, he's so wonderful to work with, and I think my brother like decided he had something like he had like a 9 hours worth of makeup that he had to be in on that movie, and then stay in it, and couldn't eat and couldn't do all these things, couldn't go to the bathroom for hours on end and stuff like that, or at least without it taking an extra hour for him to get out of the suit. And he was just not only did he give a great acting performance, but he never complains one time about anything he has to do. He's grateful to be there. He loves the movie making process, and I think my brother walked away from that, number one, with a friend for life, but also sort of saying, I'm going to work with this guy every opportunity I can. I would love to work with him, and I think it's turned out to be a very happy creative marriage. And I've gotten to work with him so much. I don't even know how many movies we've done together now, but a lot. And he's just a great dude.
Very cool. That's great.
I think for people of my generation too, he was really remembered from Mallrats. I remember like wearing out my VHS tape, and he just played that role perfectly. Like the whole chocolate pretzel thing is like iconic, and he's just like brilliant bad guy asshole. He's just like, he was so good in that.
If I ever want chocolate pretzels, I can always find him at a convention because fans bring him chocolate pretzels.
Oh my god!
All the time.
Well, and you could tell too. I mean, just to take a chance too on that film at all, also, right? I mean, even like when Kevin Smith was, he was the guy that did Clerks at that point, right? And jumped in and took a chance on the role and just killed it. Absolutely.
Ever wondered what it takes to make it in the movie business? Peel back the curtain with 4-6 Success Filmmaking. 4-6 Success Filmmaking is where filmmakers share their stories and the secrets.
It's beyond competitive out there.
There have been movies that it's taken me 10 years to get made.
Don't wait to create. Like, you've got to just keep making stuff.
Tune in to 4-6 Success Filmmaking for your dose of cinematic realness, direct from the voices that have lived it.
I really want I'm hoping that Rooker sort of gets his, I feel like his career is not, has more acts to come. You know what I mean? Like I really look forward to old man Rooker in things and him maybe even showing what he can do. He's such a great character actor, but his, that dude's going to get an Oscar nomination someday. I really feel, not that it matters, who cares about Oscar nominations, but I mean, that type of prestigious work is like, he's incredibly gifted. And, he and I went to the same acting school, actually.
Is that right?
In Chicago, yeah, at the Goodman School of Drama at DePaul in Chicago,
right?
And he was a few years before me, but yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up about Rooker, but
I love that you were like, don't tell him that we know he's a nice guy, and then and then you wrote his acceptance speech for him. That's amazing. I love that. That's so fantastic.
I wouldn't take a bullet for him, but I'd let him take one for me if he wanted.
That's true
That's
friendship. That's great. I love that. Well, all right. Well, that does bring us to the end of our first round there, and we've got Sean in a lead, but not a huge lead. We'll be honest. Alex pulled one out at the end there. That was well done.
Happy to be
That's
on the
fun.
board.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all that matters, really. So, question 1 of round 2. Most hour-long television shows have scripts that are about 40 to 50 pages, right? That's the average length. But the Gilmore Girls was a bit of a different beast. How many script pages was the average episode of the Gilmore Girls?
It was about 81 or 82. Almost seems like I actually thought it was 81. I've retold the story as 81. So maybe
Nice.
yes. No, yeah, no. Oh, I'm well aware of those.
I bet you are.
What was
That's
what was the
awesome.
reason for the longer script lengths than your typical hour-long TV show?
Quick talking. I mean, the whole thing was that the style of the show, so I don't know if you've ever seen the show, but it was really ahead of its time in some ways. I think it was kind of a hybrid. It's not exactly a dramedy, but it's also it also sort of you can't quite place it as a comedy or a drama in terms of what it is, and particularly for that time when it debuted in 2000. But the style of the show was very much like the old film comedies of Preston Sturges or Howard Hawks and things like Bringing Up Baby and 20th Century, that like His Girl Friday, which is very, very fast talking. Not all the time, but a lot of the style was like right in. And so the rhythm of it was very theatrical. And it was very much like shooting a play in some ways, in which everything had to be verbatim all the time, with good reason, not because they were sticklers, but because
I imagine there wasn't a lot of room for ad-libbing.
Never, yeah, there was never.
Right.
No, I mean, we didn't ad lib. It was like you were verbatim on the script, or we did it again. And that the show wouldn't have worked if it hadn't been like that. So like I know other actors who hear that and they're like, oh, that must have been a nightmare, and it's like, not really though, because it was like doing a play where you can't, if you do a play and you're going up six nights a week or whatever, you can't go off script on people.
Yeah.
It's like it won't work. The whole thing will fall apart.
Right.
And so there was that sort of element to it, that it was very much the rhythm was incredibly important. So, but also we spoke very quickly, and that was the whole thing. It was like faster all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it was very dense. It was very high word count, and it's interesting though, the throwback, the idea that it was a stylized throwback. I never even thought about, but yeah, absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize that was some of the influence behind that dynamic back and forth. That's really cool.
Well, I think that's really largely why I ended up on the show, and for as long as I was on, as I came on as just as a day player.
Oh, actually, sorry, not to interrupt, but can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
I'm sure you remember, but it was a long time ago. Your character name when we first saw you was
Mick.
What were you doing?
I was a DSL installer.
Because Rory ordered the DSL line. That was the time of the DSL lines.
I know. It dates the show like exactly.
I love it. It's perfect.
Right on the target, right?
It's so perfect,
coming to the house to install a DSL.
That is very cool. All right, let's get on to the next question here. This is question number 2, round 2. What is the date that Marty goes into the past in the first Back to the Future film? Now we're looking for the year. The date would be great if you could do that as well.
1955?
Correct.
You got it.
That's here.
Is it? Yeah, I get it wrong. I was about to say.
I'm like hearing the doc say it in my head, but I can't think of the actual date. It's like November 15th, 1955.
Oh,
like
so close.
That's November 5th.
November 5th, 1955.
And just to carry it on, it's a week later, November 12th, where the clock tower is hit. I'm sure you guys didn't record or film at Universal, did you? with where they filmed Back to the Future, Sean? Or was it Warner Brothers?
That was at Warner.
Warner.
That was at Warner Brothers.
Right.
And that's the town square that Gilmore Girls was set in.
Right.
It's the same. That's the same town square. So I
Really
shot there.
Oh, is it really? I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That little town square that Marty rides the skateboard around is the same town square that we use in Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Incidentally, Mr. Kevin Feige, the great Kevin Feige from Marvel fame, is I think the biggest Back to the Future nerd who ever lived. He knows and collects all things Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Is that right?
There you have it.
Nice.
Cool.
That's awesome. I had no idea. I like the tie-in there.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorites too. I love Back to the Future.
All right, now I got to be honest. This is possibly the most equitable question we have in trying to throw both of you a bone here. Okay, so after helping bring home the first title in franchise history, this player left the Toronto Raptors for the LA Clippers.
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
It is Kawhi Leonard. We're going to assume that was just a delay on Al's internet because
That's
I'm
generous.
sure you.
I think Sean
Yeah,
got
yeah.
stuck in there, but
Yeah, or was it your tears
Are you a Raptors
that
fan?
clogged it up? Yeah.
What's that?
Are you a Raptors fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of kind of a hockey baseball guy. I think those are my two big sports, but I do like watching basketball. Bit more of a fair weather fan when it comes to basketball. But I mean, the city lost its mind when they won. We hadn't had a sports championship since '93, I think, unless you count the Toronto Rock, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can't
The
rely
Blue
on
Jays-
our hockey team.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to interrupt your podcast here by talking about basketball for 6 hours.
No problem.
Even though but I was always I'm a big sports fan, and I was always for me it was baseball all the time growing up. I still like baseball. I root for the Cardinals, but in the last 5 years or so, I've become just an NBA junkie. I am a huge basketball fan, and I'm an LA Clippers fan particularly.
Oh.
So
Awesome.
I almost passed out when we got Kawhi Leonard, and
He's a
although
beast. He's incredible.
still hasn't been fruitful. But anyway,
Well, we are a science fiction podcast here. Let's get to the next sciencey question.
Tales from the Court. That's the next. Next one.
It's our spin-off. Yeah.
All right, real science here. How many Earths could fit into the sun? 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, or 1 million?
I mean, one of you has been to space, so I mean,
I know it's between two for me, but I think it's 1 million.
It is.
100.
It's 1 million.
it is 1 million.
It is a
It's
million.
Yeah, I think it's 1 million.
That's really big.
That's more than I would have thought.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the sun is big?
It's kind of big.
Big old sun.
That's the point.
No,
It's the
I mean-
point we're trying to make. Yeah, exactly.
The sun is sizable.
All right, we've established the sun is large. Excellent. This next one is a bit back down to earth. It's
Is it though?
this 19. Well, actually, that's a good point. This 1984 superhero comedy splatter film was the first cult classic hit from Troma Entertainment.
What is
Toxic
Jeopardy?
Avenger.
Yeah.
I
I was right there.
Yeah. Oh, no, I like though that you both had it. That is fantastic. Now, I do also believe that there might be another reason that Sean knows what this is, and that is why. Why is that, Sean?
Well, my first movie was a Troma movie with Uncle Lloyd Kaufman.
What was it called, Sean? Tell
It
us.
was called Tromeo and Juliet.
Sure was.
Oh,
That's
played
the
it.
best.
Cool, cool.
I played the iconic Sammy Capulet. My death
Love it.
scene in that movie is, you may or may not know, the greatest single scene in the history of cinema. I don't know if you guys were aware of that, but if you weren't before, you are now.
Please describe it to us.
Yeah, I grab onto the side of a car, and the gentleman in the passenger seat rolls the window up, trapping my head in the window of the car, punches me repeatedly, and finally punches me so hard that I pop off the car and my head slams into a fire hydrant as we're going forward.
Beautiful.
And then I lay crying on the pavement, putting my brains back into my head. And to put my brains back into my head.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's
Love it.
I know it sounds great, but it's even better than
If that's possible.
and
And that one was Lloyd Kaufman and your brother James, correct? They wrote that one down.
yeah. My brother was hired to write that movie, and then
So great.
Lloyd directed it, but James was kind of there for all of it, and kind of co-directed it. Although he, it depends on as the years go on, the credits get. I'm sure Lloyd would like to list him as a co-director now.
No doubt.
But it's no, that was a great experience. Lloyd's a great guy. I just saw him at my brother's wedding a few months ago, and we've stayed friends over the years. I'm friends with all those guys for the most part from Romeo and Juliet, and
Awesome.
And it was what an experience in New York. I got paid $100 to do that movie for the entirety. That's not per day. That was my
right. There's no per diem.
My pay was $100.
You got to be in a Troma movie, though. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you must
Badge
see
of honor.
Lloyd too, because he goes to the cons and he'll sit at the Troma booth, and you can kind of walk up. I've gone up and said hi, and I'm sure you.
I see him from.
Yeah.
I see him there, and usually we it's my wife actually did a Troma movie as well, and that was one of the when I met my wife Natasha, the first thing she said was, "We have a mutual friend in common, Lloyd Kaufman," and so we actually we try to have dinner with Lloyd and Pat whenever we're in the same city, and they're the best.
Nice.
I think the last Troma movie I saw was Poltergeist. Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
Wow.
Nice.
That was
How many?
something. It was
how
a
many
Troma film.
did that movie get? I can't remember. Not as many as John Williams.
Yeah, not quite as many as John Williams.
Not quite. Yeah, it's tight, but
Not as many Earths in the sun.
well, that takes care of round 2, and things are still very close. There's going to be a big shakeup at the end. I can feel it. It's going to be good. Jump into round 3. Question 1 of round 3. Tristan, you want to take it away?
Yeah, so let's do some more real science here. Question number 1, final round. What will happen to the measurement of your height if you are in space?
I'm going to say it'll increase.
That is correct. In space, the disk expands and the spine lengthens as there is near zero gravity, and the astronaut is taller. The spine's elongation in microgravity can add 2 inches to a 6-foot-tall astronaut. And how tall were you before, Sean? Because this must have happened to you, I'm guessing. Did that happen to you when you were in space?
Yeah, like when my face gets scrambled.
All right, well, Al, you managed to tie it up, so here we go. All right, so question 2. In the animated series Archer, the character of Cheryl Tunt is voiced by this well-known actress.
Judy Greer.
It is Judy Greer.
How'd you know that?
She is my best friend.
Well, really?
Oh, okay. I actually did not know that. I knew there was a tenuous connection of your school. I did not know that she was your best friend.
I performed her wedding. I was the officiant at her wedding. She was the best man at my wedding.
Wow.
Best woman at my wedding. We have been great friends for, oh my God, a long time now. Over 25 years. Yeah, she's the best.
Cool.
No, she seems awesome. I just watched her and she does such a great performance in The Village. And I love Shyamalan. Even the movies that people give a little bit of a hard time to, the guy is original every time. I love Shyamalan's work. So to see her in that film is fantastic. And then also another co-star of yours is in a new Shyamalan film, which I have not seen yet. I'm going to go see soon.
Bautista.
Yeah. In Knock at the Cabin.
Oh, yeah.
It looks cool. I want to see it. I haven't talked to him about it. I want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Judy's great. She's had such a illustrious career. Like she, I don't know how many movies she's done now, but it's like holy smokes.
A
If you go to
lot.
her IMDb page, it's like holy Christmas.
And
She
it's a
is-
very vast range of things too.
Oh
right?
my God,
Between
yeah.
voice acting and drama and comedy, and she can kind of
does
do it
it all.
all. Yeah.
She does it all, and she is the most lovely human being you would ever want to meet. She's down to earth and as funny as anyone I've ever known, and smart and cool and kind. And her husband is the best dude, and
Nice.
nothing but flowers for Ms. Group.
Right on.
Awesome.
Nice. All right.
All right, moving on to question number 3, round 3. I want a music question here because we all love music, and it's a bit of a sci-fi twist on this one. But it's going to be hard, maybe. I don't know, maybe simple. We'll see. Who did David Bowie kill on July 3rd, 1973? Now, just think
I'm a little
sci-fi.
ashamed of my lack of Bowie knowledge.
You a Bowie fan, Sean?
I'm trying to think. Is it from a song? Is it like "The Man Who Sold the World" or something like that, or is it
Close. It's definitely a song. It's the pseudonym for the band for one tour and one album.
Oh, Ziggy Stardust.
There it is. So everyone knows the story, or maybe not so much. But Ziggy is a rock and roll messiah sent to Earth by aliens who want to bring a message of peace and love to humanity. And unfortunately, Ziggy is ultimately killed by his fame, his fans, and the excesses of rock and roll. In reality, Bowie, quote-unquote, killed Ziggy Stardust on July 3rd, 1973, at the end of his last concert, show on the UK tour, announcing the last show that we'll ever do. And many people thought this meant that Bowie was retiring. And of course, David Bowie did not clarify that at all. And then came back as David Bowie a few months later, a year later. So I actually didn't know about that. So that was a neat little nugget to find. I know Al is a big, he loves the Britpop. He loves the Beatles, the Kinks, the Rolling Stones a bit too. And Sean, what music? Because I know your brother puts in amazing soundtracks into the Guardians of the Galaxies. I mean, they've almost got a thing out of just those albums. Is this the stuff you guys were listening to growing up, or what's your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, really, like everything. It's like I love music. When I grew up, my two older brothers were really into, like, they were kind of like just like sort of punks, but then sort of into the mod scene. They loved the Clash and the Sex Pistols and the Jam and but I also grew up loving the Kinks and loving that sort of genre of music. But it changed for me a lot. The good thing, okay, so I'm the youngest of 6, and the best thing about being the youngest of 6 is that you get a sprinkling of everyone's different musical tastes. So like James loved punk music, but he was really into like power pop and got into these like almost early hair metal bands and stuff like you'll see when you watch Peacemaker, bands like Hanoi Rocks and things like that. Along with everything else, also loving Bowie and loving the Clash and so all of my siblings would have these different little pieces that I would get. Brian loved Talking Heads or Prince or whatever, and Patrick loved Split Ends and these like weird sort of bands, and I would get little bits from all of them. But I'm also my own human, and when I was 14, Straight Outta Compton came out, and I got into rap music, and
Nice.
I liked that as well. And now I don't know. I listen to a little of everything. I really like 90s hip hop, and I really like old country folk singer-songwriter stuff, which are
Very
total
eclectic.
opposites from each other, but like I love, and as you guys as Canadians, I love Joni Mitchell and Neil Young, but also like
Mm-hmm.
Ian Tyson and Bob Gibson and like these old like Canadian folk singers. Yeah,
think,
what do you got?
I think you can draw some similarities between hip hop and folk music in the sense that they're both very lyrical.
Yes, storytelling. I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Well, Subterranean Homesick Blues is a bit like a rap,
Yeah.
Although that was kind of a riff on a Chuck Berry song, I think.
All right. We're going to jump back into the film world here.
We got 2 questions left here.
And it's still anyone's game, honestly. It is. So this sci-fi horror crossover was based on a short story called Who Goes There by John Campbell Jr. Came out in 1982.
82. Terminator?
Right year.
Yeah.
Wrong film, though.
That's why I
Sci-fi,
guessed it.
sci-fi horror classic.
It's kind of one of the best
Sci-fi
films of
horror
all
classic.
time.
It is argued. Yeah.
I'm
Not
just
The Abyss.
like right now, I don't know the material, so I'm trying to think sci-fi horror classic from '82.
Yep.
That's got to be like The Fly.
Close Encounters? No.
No.
No, it's a couple of years
Not really
earlier.
horror.
Yeah, right.
Kurt Russell.
Oh,
Escape from...
The
Thing.
Thing.
There we go.
Yeah,
I was gonna
The
say,
Thing.
Escape
from-
Yeah.
Crazy. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Oh my god.
Well, that
Should've
must have
got
been
that one
something
earlier.
for you and your brothers as well, because of the practical special effects in that were
Oh,
just
yeah.
beyond.
Oh.
And I mean, and you guys love that stuff, so that must have been something else for you guys to see.
Unbelievable. And then got to work with Kirk on the second Guardians movie.
That's right.
Oh, that's
So
right too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I remember because they were saying that Carpenter's budget for that at that time was just insane compared to anything else, right? So it was $15 million he had to do that movie, and just 4 years before, the next biggest one he had done was like $375,000 for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like skyrocketed, and yeah, I loved it. He said one of the things that he focused on was to try to make the monster something that didn't look like a guy in a suit. That was one of
I
his
don't
goals.
think the thing did well at the box office.
No,
it did not.
no.
It did not. No, and
No.
it kind of killed him a bit. Like he's like he takes all of his failures really hard, but he has said multiple times that like that one really hurt because he put a lot into it.
If you that holds up better than any to me. You watch that movie tonight.
Oh
Yeah.
That movie's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
I mean, it
absolutely.
is an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when it's going to be like, how, everybody changes over to CDs or whatever at certain age, and then there's some renaissance where like people are like, no, we want to go back and explore our analog music, and I'm just wondering if they're going to be movies that really push. We have no visual effect, like we have no digital effects in this movie at all.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some that are doing it already, but that really like put that as a stamp. Hey, just so you know, we made this movie, and there's everything is a practical effect in the movie.
Yeah.
Totally.
And how that could be a cool little sort of niche.
No, it's something else. Well, we've had Phil Tippett on the show. And
awesome.
Sean, I'm sure you know Phil Tippett. He's a
Mm-hmm.
genius. He's such an interesting fella. And Ryan and I spoke with him a couple times. But something that we spoke about, and I was actually talking to someone from Tippett Studios a few days ago, because we might be doing something. But just that you mentioned music, Sean, and I find that really interesting because we did speak about how there's that resurgence of vinyl. People want to hold something. People want to have something real to listen to. And I do see that coming back because Phil did make a movie called Mad God, which is, someone grabbed me the DVD, and it's the first DVD I've owned in over a decade. And I might never open it because I'm not going to watch it. But it's so cool. It's all practical special effects. It's stop motion captured effects. It's puppets. It's models, and there's people using their hands to create these monsters and creatures, and there's something about that that's very real, and I think people are longing for that. Even Jon Favreau used some Tippett Studios to do some stop motion animation for The Mandalorian, so it's there might be I say what you're saying, Sean, this can be happening.
Well, I can say that that from my perspective of having worked on a number of like big movies, that one of the things that I really appreciate about, particularly the Guardians movies, but my brother likes to build. He likes to build practical sets as much as possible, and so like there's a lot of I think that in general more of our set is actually built than green screen than in almost any other you know sort of big tentpole sci-fi movie you're going to see these days.
All right.
On. Well, we are at our last question here.
Yeah, I guess we are going at
question.
the other end of the special effects spectrum here.
Yeah.
All right, last question here. Who was the first actor? No one's going to get this, by the way. Who was the first actor to be used in motion capture technology?
Can I guess?
Wait,
Yeah, please guess.
So is it in the Abyss? Did it take place in the Abyss? That film?
No, actually, it was his name was Richard Boehringer was his name, and it was the first visual actor animated by motion capture. It was in '93, and it was involved cloning the body and the face of the comedian, and then animating it with the motion capture tools that they had at the time. But it was the first time that idea of like using points on a human body was put into effect, right?
Okay, cool.
I mean, I want to know now, Sean, what is it like being the reference point for something that's animated? And something I'm interested to know is, are you less aware or conscious of your facial movements and more of your body? Do you care less what you look like? Do you care more? What is as an actor, is there more pressure or less pressure?
Well, there's less generally. For me, it changes from depending on what I'm doing. Like when I played Weasel in Suicide Squad, that was very straightforward motion capture, so that I was wearing the things, and I've done this before on another. I've done it in other projects as well, but where they're capturing everything I'm doing and then they're digitally reproducing it through a character. So when you see the Suicide Squad, everything the Weasel does is exactly what I did. They're just like literally digitally capturing my performance and hanging a different avatar on top of it. In this case, the Weasel. What I do for Rocket is very different because, first of all, I don't voice Rocket, even though I play Rocket on set, and so I'm voicing him when we shoot it originally. I'm working with the actors and things like that. But also, Rocket is not humanoid enough for the technology to be there. So I'm not wearing balls and all that kind of digital stuff that lets them animate the performance. I'm just an actor doing it the way that I think is best in order to help the other actors in the scene, and then the visual effects artists go and they use my performance as a jumping off point for a reference when they're animating the character. So initially it's not really done digitally. They do have some digital help, but I don't want to nitpick too much. But basically they're watching what I do and using that as a reference for Rocket, for like where his eyes go, where he moves, where his hands go, all those things. But the reason it's a lot less pressure is because they can also adjust that. So if they want to change it, if they want Rocket to be a little more aggressive than the way that I played it, all they have to do is just do that, and they make him more aggressive. And then if they want to, after Bradley comes in and does and sort of brings the whole thing together, he has like a rough draft of what the character is doing on screen, and then he does his vocal performance. And if his vocal performance informs new physical movements for the character, they can then change and adapt to what he did as well. So for Rocket, it's really a holistic creation process from James to me to the visual effects supervisor, to the visual effects team, to Bradley Cooper, and it's all these sort of things coming together to like create this whole thing. Whereas, like with Weasel, they're just basically capturing what I do and they're putting it on screen, and that's like a lot of what some of the original, like Andy Serkis, I think is known as being sort of the pioneer of the first and best motion capture acting performances, and they're capturing specifically what he's doing in a different way. But it's been a fascinating process as an actor to deal with, because like I worked on Avengers, and I would do. We had a scene with Mark Ruffalo's playing Hulk, and I'm playing Rocket, and Chris Hemsworth is there playing Thor, and then there's an actor playing the Rock, the character that's made of rocks.
Taika Waititi's character.
Yes, Taika wasn't there, but there was an actor playing.
Oh, okay.
And we're doing this scene, and each of those three digital characters, Hulk and Rocket and the Rock guy, whose name I should know, but I'm getting old. I'm sorry. There's different processes for each one of those characters and how they're made. So like each one is a little bit different, and so that scene is, I can't even describe how tricky it is to shoot a scene like that, because you're shooting a reference for each character in a different way from every point of view. And so like it's not a big scene in the movie, but it took us days to shoot it. It's like, and so they're all, the point I'm making with all this is that it's not always exactly the same for all these characters. Mm-hmm. Some of them have different processes than others, and you got to kind of like, it's like you got to find your right shoe size for what works for the movie, but it's been an amazing process doing it with Rocket. I feel very close to Rocket, although I think in a lot of ways he's the most, like, I think my brother James would say that if he himself were in the movie, Rocket is him, right. And I've always been aware of that like that's the, when you're a writer, every character is you to some degree, but I definitely do think that in some sort of metaphysical, in some sort of like metaphysical way, Rocket is James in the Guardians movies, right. And so that's why it takes a whole team of people to make it work. Anyway, that's a very, very long answer for a very short question.
No, that's great
good to know. Yeah, and is it something that, like I guess my other question was, when it came to you doing that particular job, was that simply a matter of was it something that you had like asked to do, or was it just like all of a sudden it was something you kind of found yourself doing this type of work?
It was really primarily when the first Guardians movie was made, the thing that the number one thing that James was worried about was that Rocket look good and not stupid. It's like, it's a talking raccoon. And so I'm sorry to go to this well again, but the path to Jar Jar Binks is there, to making it like really like where people would be like, this looks really stupid, and I think it was we're walking a tightrope there. And that was the number one thing as a filmmaker that he was worried about. So not knowing who the actor was, who was going to voice the character, and even beyond that, knowing that whoever voiced the character wasn't going to be available on set when we shot it, he asked me to do it because we've worked together so much, and I know that he trusts me as a performer, and to get at least, so that we did not know what the process was going to be, but I think that he felt comfortable giving me the keys to that, not the keys, but to being like, if you're here to help me like navigate this process, I think it was more comfortable for him. And he also, and I was also out of work at the time, so it's like it wasn't a big ask. I needed a job, and so we then embarked on the process with me going and just like reading the character in the first table read and not knowing exactly what the process was going to be for how we were going to make it work. We just knew that I was going to be there to read the lines and we were going to try to figure it out. And in the first rehearsal process, I discovered that if I just got down on my hands and knees and started playing the character, that as weird as it looked and as weird as it seemed for a few minutes, that very quickly the actors got over the weirdness of it, and the other actors loved working with an actual person there. So I just started doing that, and that's how we started to work on it on set. And the visual effects team then, after a week or two of shooting, then sort of went to my brother and they were like, this is really helpful for us. We're not working from zero and trying to animate this character. We have a performance that we can look at so that we know where we know sort of what Rocket is doing, what he's looking at, where he's, and so to just start to like film the performance and then animate around it, tweaking as necessary, is just what worked for the character. We had to kind of like figure that out on the fly.
That's great. And also nice that you were able to bring a like naturalistic element to it, because like you say, it could have just as easily veered into other territory.
Yeah, sure. And
also,
and it's a credit to Bradley Cooper as well, who's just like whose vocal performance is great. And this isn't, I hope it doesn't seem like hubris of any kind, but I think that the creation of Rocket as an on-screen character is a pretty astonishing bit of sleight of hand. And to the point where when you first see it, you don't.
The idea that even like when I first saw it, I wasn't just paying attention to the raccoon, right? Because the whole thing fits so naturally.
Yeah,
that is astounding. It's true. Yeah, very cool.
Well, before we let you go, and we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3 comes out in a couple months. Can you tell us what it's about and how it ends?
Oh, you're so close.
Everyone dies. Oh wait, did I say that out loud?
Perfect.
Actors are supposed to say this, so maybe I'm lying, but I'm telling you I'm not. I had so much fun making that movie, creatively, not just fun like, oh man, it was like we all went out and had drinks after shooting and it was great. It wasn't that. Just the creatively coming together with people that we had made 2 previous movies with, and we all really care. We knew that we were sort of closing the loop a little bit on the trilogy, and that it was very likely the last go around for this incarnation of the Guardians for a number of reasons, and I think everybody. It made everyone almost care more, and I think that the movie we made is really, really special, and for me was the so far has been, I think, the pinnacle of my professional career was making that movie. So I can't wait to share it with an audience. I can't wait for people to see it.
That's great. Yeah, I know we're all looking forward to it. Is there anything else on the horizon for you you'd like to share?
Nothing I can specifically talk about. What I can say though is that after like almost I guess 3.5 years of hiatus, I'm going back out on the convention circuit and like probably coming to a city near you.
London, right?
I'll be in Toronto.
Toronto.
Toronto, right?
We do panels at Fan Expo, and we're likely doing some panels at Toronto Comic Convention. So you're there. We'll probably come over for a fist bump, Sean.
Love it. Yeah, I just agreed to do a whole bunch of shows for Fan Expo, so like I'm gonna get back out there. I feel like with the movie coming out, it's a good time to go out there and engage with the fans and like
For sure.
try to drum it up and like do whatever. But also I do have some other work coming up. It's just I don't so much of my stuff is an NDA.
Yeah.
Sure. Fair enough.
Well, they haven't announced who's playing Superman yet, and I don't know if your brother's. Is that you? Are you doing that?
Playing Superman? I can't say anything at this time. But,
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Trivia from the Bridge, brought to you by Tales from the Bridge. Thank you, Sean Gunn. What a fantastic guy to hang out with. Apologies for a little bit of the technical sound difficulties. We're still trying to figure this thing out. Everyone is. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next time.